You're listening to Co-op Radio, 100.5 FM and coopradio.org. It's 5 o'clock, and it's Metis Matters Radio time!
The views expressed and opinions given by myself, Derrick Whiteskycloud, and their hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of the CFRO 100.5 FM, your cooperative radio network, its affiliates, and or sponsors. Hey everybody, welcome to Metis Matters Radio.
Hi, I'm Gennaro Sullivan.
And I'm Woody Morrison.
Join us every Monday.
Not yet. Anyways, we're back, guys. Thank you for joining me on Metis Matters Radio and CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm your host, Derrick Whiteskycloud. And yes, folks, I am here in the chat rooms. We are in actually live. I'm in live, actually, 2 chat rooms. One Facebook Live here as well as YouTube, so you're more than welcome to join me. Those who are in the chat rooms, if you want to drop it in my page from YouTube and tell people, hey, here's Derrick's page, follow him here. He's in both chat rooms. Thank you guys for being part of this. We have a lot to talk about this week. There's what's going on right now. This coming week, well, actually, this whole week is Every Child Matters. And so, it's been going on for, again, a long time. Basically, this whole thing has been going, I would say, since the beginning of the 215 and of the Simp and the Tip Nation. They have been up in Kamloops. They've been trying so hard to, I guess you say, keep the low on themselves right now, and they've I guess the media has been on their case for consistently. They had to finally blockade their offices, and what I understand is there have been a couple of people that have been doing documentary on the unmarked graves of the children, and they decided to do what you call a non-permission drone aerial view over the banned territory, their location without permission. And these reporters went ahead and they decided to investigate the unmarked graves in their gravesite by using their own drone. Not with, like, again, First Nations folks in the territory of the Kamloops did not give them permission. They went ahead, used their drone, and they're hovering above the gravesite. Oh, all I see is markers. Oh, they're just sticks. Meantime, what they did is they did a documentary on it. It's on YouTube. If you guys want to have a look at it, it's actually on my page as well. Have a look. In one way, I'm not too impressed for what they've done. I'm sure they've supposedly done research. But again, they have never spoken to anyone in person except the certain bands, or a certain band in some territories. But they really haven't spoken to everybody. And like I said before, the media has really driven themselves so deeply. Now they're trying to say that all these children that were buried in unmarked graves was fake. This actually is a couple of people that actually did this documentary, and when that was sent to me, they once worked for Rebel News. So again, I'm not taking the legitimacy away from them. Their journalism is, they're trying their darndest, but I think they should spend a little bit longer doing the research before they just focus on one particular group of people. Because even though they're trying to get a hold of the chief, they're trying to get a hold of the office. I mean, I watched part of it, guys. You need to see it yourself. And I just found that kind of intrusive, where they decided to take their drone and hover over their own land, their own territory, without permission. And they're making their own judgment of saying, well, as far as we're concerned, we don't think it really happened. Then they did the research on the ground penetrating radar and talked to a couple of people and said, well, to really be honest with you, there really is no proof that they can actually find a body under the ground with ground penetrating radar. They're just saying, well, that's just hearsay. Folks, I have friends that have been doing Egyptian geographical research. They have been using GPR for the last 10, maybe 20 years. It's been around for a long time. They have found skeletons under the ground. They know exactly what to find. But according to one person saying, well, it's not really proven, or you can't really prove that actually these are the bodies, or a body. You use this machine often if you pretty well get an idea. Now, don't forget, folks, you remember now, you think about this. There's adult skeletons, and then there's children's skeletons. Hello? Open your freaking eyes, folks. Listen, right? Pay attention. But what they're doing is they're actually, with their own judgment, these guys, they're making their own judgment, saying, oh, well, these children never existed there. We think that they made it all up. And then they decide to use a story even further to say, well, from another location in Saskatchewan, that this priest back in the 1960s removed all of the crosses, indigenous crosses or their tombstones, and basically look like unmarked graves. Or if the crosses did, falter or basically deteriorate and they never were replaced, fine. Why don't you guys talk to the children that actually suffered and actually watched or hidden away watching these children being buried with no cross above them, no tombstone? You didn't ask them. You were doing your own research online. And if you did go on site, once you guys go on site, don't worry about the 215 on the camera. Do your research. Go into Saskatchewan. Have a chat with the people up there. They're willing to talk to you. But no, you made your judgments by having talked to a chief who only, as he understands, a young chief, by the way, a young one, a young chief. Why talk to the guys that were actually part of residential schools that are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even other elders? Speak to them. They'll tell you what they had seen. They know what it looks like. And don't forget, too, when it comes to money, okay, and I'm going to bring this up, the government's handing out money to keep people silenced and not to comment and to gag order this whole situation. So if you think you're doing your research and think that the First Nations are avoiding you, no. I hope here's what happens, what the government does. The government likes to pay you off, keep you silent. Once you sign that piece of paper, you can't talk about it anymore. Anything to do with residential schools, says a survivor, you get paid between $14,000 to $18,000 survival gift, I guess they call it, by the government, and they give it to you. And yet you have to sign a piece of paper and say you can't talk about it anymore. Why? Even though you know what you went through, your family, yourself suffered, whoever you were with, generationally, you had lost, your family had lost their lives generationally, or suffered generationally. And yet, it turns out that once a government official gets a hold of you and you sign that piece of paper, and then they threaten you, and then the words are, if you sign that piece of paper, once you get your money, you can't talk about it. And if you do talk about it to anyone, we will sue you. Think about it, folks. This is what the government's been doing. This is their threat. They've been doing this a long time. Anytime that you are involved in anything, even 60s Scoop, talk to some of the 60s Scoop kids. And they'll tell you, once that money's paid to them, they can't talk about it anymore. They're told to keep their mouth shut. You think about it. A lot of First Nations, here's a good man here that I know is in the chat right now, Willard Cook. Right? Semiahmoo First Nation, once chief. Listen to, if I had Willard on the phone, he would probably tell you his side of the story or their side of the story. What happens? A lot of times the government has a way of wanting you to shut you up. You sign that piece of paper, you get your residential school survival payment. That's it. You can't talk about it anymore. Or you can tell your story, but you can never comment negatively about the government because they gave you the money. That's called silence. It's gag ordering. A lot of chiefs right now, a lot of First Nations, and a lot of in the East Coast, they wanted to say something. They can't talk. Once they get paid, that's it. There, a lady in the chat room goes, okay, you got kicked off for 7 days. Yeah, I'm so sorry. But it happens. FB wants to shut people down. And the reason why, because we're telling the truth. This is all right now, folks, we're talking about the residential school surviving. We're talking about our people that are dealing with Every Child Matters. Okay, it's been ongoing for the whole week and it's still not done yet. September 30th is the day. Is the day of recognizing, which is tomorrow, which is actually a Thursday, 2021, recognize the missing Indigenous children, unmarked graves. And they want to hold the ceremony at 2:15 on whichever location that you're at, which is, I think, is a wonderful, great idea to honor those 215 children. Now, but even like I said, these two journalists are saying they don't believe that 215 children had died in Kamloops. They made a documentary on it, and they're saying it was all fake. That the Simp Nation, the Clip Nation actually made it up. For what? Why would they make it up? Doesn't make any sense. Every band, all they're looking for is satisfaction from the government to say, it's about time that you find those missing kids. They are missing children. We know. The royals showed up back in the 1960s, and the priest handed over a dozen children to the Queen Elizabeth herself, Prince Philip. Those kids never came back home. They didn't. They never came back. Why weren't they returned? Think about it, folks. What was being done to those children? How come they were never claimed to say they were, well, yeah, they came back home? No, they didn't. Because the priest said in words, there was the kids that were there had said in their own word, they heard this from the priest. These are my gift to you. My gift to you. Think of the word, folks. My gift to you. Ownership. The priest handed the kids over to the Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip back in the 1960s. Think about it. My gift to you. That means they're not coming home. That hurts. I was born in the 1950s, and I've seen things, folks, that make your head twist. I have a lot of close friends that were, I was part of residential school, but I was part of residential school very, very brief because my father took me away and took us out and away from everything because my skin color was not deep enough or dark enough to make me stay. But I had to keep my mouth shut of my Indigenous background and the documentation that my mother showed to the principal that got me transferred. No one knows about that. But when I told the kids that I have some Indigenous, I didn't say some Indigenous, I said Indian background. I got some Indian blood. Great. I'm just happy. I was excited because you feel excited that you got, oh, wow, you're cool. You feel cool. Like you have, because I grew up with kids that were First Nations. I grew up with kids that were Métis. And we weren't called Métis. We were half-breeds. That's what we had. We didn't have an specific identity given to us. We just did it ourselves. We're just grown up. Nothing more. But it became a ramification. It became such a way that everybody's taking this so as an insult. I'm proud to be a half-breed. I'm proud with that name. I couldn't care less because that's what we label ourselves as before that name came out. And I'm happy with it. I'm okay with it. But the young ones today are taught by people out there, oh, you shouldn't say these. How many times that we have to keep on changing our identity of who we are? Who's changing our identity? The government. We aren't. They are. They keep on signing new deals. Oh, we'll give you this name this year. Oh no, well, it's an old fad. Here, we'll change 20 years later. We'll give this new name now to you. Right? Oh, by the way, Tom, I know. Thank you guys for being in the chat room. Tom, I know why they called you Chief. Think about the TV series back in the 1960s, Get Smart. That's where it started. When the guy would say, sorry about that, Chief. And it became a label, it became a saying. So anybody that's non-Indian, non-Asian, or non-Indian would say to an Indian person, if there's ever a mistake made, he'll say an incident happened and was never fixed properly or corrected. So they'll say, oh, sorry about that, Chief. But they use the word to the point of everyone calling every male man Chief. My mother worked at the Greyhound back in the 1960s. Okay. And there was a young man, this is in Brandon, Manitoba, a young man who was wanting to travel on the Greyhound. My mom has no racist gender because she's part Native herself. And my mom just said to the young man, oh, sorry about that, Chief, when she made a mistake. And he says, I'm not Chief yet until my father's dead. He said that. My mother told me this. I'm a kid. I remember. I'm not Chief yet till my father's dead. there's humor in itself. So it depends on how you see it, how you expect it, how you receive it. Everyone uses words differently. But what really concerned me is when there are people out there right now today, and they're making a big deal that all these churches, now they're trying to get the public convinced that there's more than 5 or 6 or even 10 churches now being burnt down. Now, apparently what the journalists are trying to say that every church is all being barricaded now, all fenced around, every church with security, because they're afraid that their church is going to get burnt down now. When the media starts this and they say these things, how do you get someone or some people to take that very same idea and say, oh, okay, they're surrounding the church. Well, okay, let's make it even worse than that. Let's scare them. Let's throw things at the church. Keep on making up stuff, folks. You're going to get people irritated or scared. Every church may decide to barricade everything off. I mean, let's put it this way. There's a pastor right now that came. He went up to the States to go visit the Kennedys. And when he came back, he's a pastor. He came back just a couple of days ago on the plane. The police were waiting for him and arrested him. They arrested him and told him that that he's arrested, that they have a warrant for his arrest because he held a church service without permission. This is in Alberta, without permission by the Premier of Alberta, and the pastor went against the rules of the Alberta Premier, Jason Kenney. So the police, RCMP, or not, I'm not sure if it's city police, RCMP, I think it's city police, were waiting for him at the airport in a private plane, arrested him immediately as soon as he got off the plane, not into the airport, off the plane, on the grounds, and arrested him. Kenney wants him serving 6 years in prison for holding a church service. What the heck is going on? Okay, I'm just saying this. It's totally separate in one way, but in other ways, what is going on here? First of all, you got groups of people that want to burn churches down there, and then you got a pastor that wants to hold church service. Now he's being arrested, and he's in jail. Then they want him behind bars and serving 6 years because he refused to listen to a premier of a province who was supposed to serve us. We elected those people, serving us, working for us. And they're actually doing this to us. They're trying to put scares in us, saying, well, we can tell you what to do, but you can't tell us what to do. Okay. Thing is, September 30th is what really bothers me as well. They decided to make this into a government holiday, a federal holiday for civil servants. Anybody that's union, anybody that's a government official, they're making the 30th an official holiday for non-Indigenous people. Think about it, folks. Official holiday for non-Indigenous people to take that day off, including the banks. All the banks would be closed tomorrow on the 30th of September. No bank transactions, no transitions, nothing. And they're saying they're doing this to honor the unmarked graves, the children. Do you think they're going to show up at this event to support this? Not on my life. Most of them will never show up to any of these events. Oh, I got a day off with pay. Right? These non-Indigenous people got a holiday because Trudeau made a holiday out of it. Day off with pay to all these government civil workers, civil servants. There are very few Indigenous civil servants. And they went ahead and they actually made it to recognize, they're saying it's supposed to make it to recognize the missing Indigenous children. Recognize every child matters. Really, folks? You really think they did this to honor our people? Think about it. Really? No. No, I think they were just using it as an excuse to then basically say, hey, we'll make this into a holiday. We'll make you feel good. But they're getting paid for it, that day off. Like I said before, are they going to show up to any of the ceremonies that take place across Canada and the United States about what happened? A lot of them won't show up. They're going to take that day off and watch a hockey game or watch baseball or watch something. They're taking that day off, but they're not going to show up. Why should they? They're saying, hey, okay, you gave me a holiday. You give me a day off with pay. Civil servants. All your politicians that work for the government, they get that day off too. They're getting paid for it. Are they going to show up at any of these events? Depends. If they want to. So what do you want to do? Do you want to agree? Do you think that's a great idea? Should everybody get paid that day off as a civil servant to recognize that day? The government. We, the people. They're using our tax dollars to pay their day off. Okay? They're using our tax dollars to pay their day off so then they can take the day off during this event on the 30th for Every Child Matters. Then we have different people that have corporations and businesses that are making these Every Child Matter t-shirts and all kinds of things, like all kinds of items these days. And they're making them. Not everybody is doing it to give back. I was informed that HBC, which is Hudson's Bay Company, the store, as well as Walmart, they made all these shirts and all kinds of paraphernalia, you name it. But none of this, the people have phoned their offices and head offices and saying, are you donating any money to any of these organizations, to the kids, for missing Indigenous children? We'll get back to you. But they're not saying anything. All of these clothing and items are made in China. Again, they're using someone else's art without permission, and they're putting them on the t-shirts, and they order them from China. They're made up and they're sent this way. People are paying the money, $15-20 a shirt or whatever outfit it is or whatever type of item it is, and you think you're honoring the kids? They're profiting from you, folks, just like our indigenous crafters. We make our product, and what does China do? They steal it. They take it back to their country. They photograph it, take it back to their country. They make them up and try to sell for lesser money, and even lesser than what it is worth. This is what happens. We lose this. There are so many people that understand what I'm talking about. Every Child Matters was important for one reason. I mean, I participated every year, anytime since it started. It started for one reason, because our children do matter. I was involved with it from the very beginning, even when Robert Picton was involved. That's how far back it goes, folks. Because there were children even missing when the police were investigating him. That's how far back it goes. So it's a choice of your own what you want to do. If you think, and I would say your best bet to do, if you don't agree with Walmart's doing, and then again, I would like you guys to even phone their head off and say, look, is there any money being donated to any foundation that relates to the kids? And what foundation are you giving this money to? let us know so we can call that organization. And if you are donating, I'm not $1. It doesn't cost $15 to make a T-shirt. If most T-shirts in China are maybe $3, $4, $5 at the most, and then the art is cheaply done. I've seen the art is horrible, not that great. It's just transferred print, not like what we have here, folks. You know what I mean? No, it's not the same. So I have a good friend, and his name is JJ Lavallee, and he actually wrote a song. He wrote it a few years back. I'm going to see if I can bring it up to play it for you folks. And hope you guys like it. It's actually, he's got it on YouTube. He's re-recorded consistently. Okay. Sharon says, you were so right. You ask any white person what tomorrow is, and they'll say it's a day off or don't know. That's true. They'll say it's just a day off. They don't know. They have no idea that's considered a day off. None whatsoever. Right? Anyways, I'm going to play you guys a song of JJ Lavallee. I'm sure you're going to guys enjoy this. And it's all to do with the Truth and Reconciliation. He actually wrote this song and he sang it. This was taken on the location during the virtual Surrey Fusion Festival 2021, just last few weeks ago. I was part of it, and the title of it's called "It's Time for Truth and Reconciliation." This is JJ Lavallee.
Very honored to be presenting this song on traditional Coast Salish territory. Why did you have to do the things you've done to me? I was just an innocent. Why couldn't you leave me be? First you took me from my home and my family, and you told me not to speak the language that was taught to me. Why did you do what you've done? Now my innocence is gone, and I won't ever get those years back now. But where do we go from here? What, why, when, where, how? The time for truth and reconciliation is now. You stripped me of my clothes, my hair. You covered me in eyes. You burned me everywhere. You beat me if I didn't understand the words you said, and you forced me to sleep with one eye open when I went to bed. So why did you do what you've done? Now my innocence is gone, and I won't ever get those years back now. So where do we go from here? What, why, and where, how? The time for truth and reconciliation is now. Creator, keep us safe. Keep us all from harm. We got a long, long way to go, but we've come so far. So So where do we go from here? What, why, when, where, how? The time for truth and reconciliation is now.
Hi, I'm Ganargio Sullivan.
And I'm Woody Morrison.
Join us every Monday from 1 to 2:30 p.m.
On When Spirit Whispers, the First Nations program.
We cover truth and reconciliation.
Art, music, politics, current and cultural.
Call 604-6. Eight 47561 every Monday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. on When Spirit Whispers.
I'm like a motherless child.
Radio Vancouver, local and not so local music. A music show that tells you where and when.
Tune in to Late Night
hear
with Savages
live
every Wednesday from
band
11 to
gigs,
midnight.
live musical guests, and a few surprises too. Radio Vancouver, Wednesdays, 3:30 to 5. It doesn't just play music and go home. It's out there, absorbing it. Experience Vancouver on Facebook at facebook.com/Vancouver. Radio Vancouver, Wednesdays, 3:30 to 5 p.m. on Co-op Radio. It's fun!
If you want to listen to us anywhere you travel, you can go into your Google Play Store and then download the Radio Player Canada app, and you can listen to your favorite radio station, Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM.
And we're back, folks. Thank you for joining me on Metis Matters Radio and the CFRO. Bam. Yeah, this is very busy week for all of us, I'm sure. So I want to talk, like I said before, this is all to do with Every Child Matters Week. And I information from someone just recently, just now. So I got clicked and they said, Derrick, you need to see this. So I just got it. Hudson's Bay sale of orange shirts to support residential school survivors raises questions. Now, apparently there was a young lady, when she saw that, first of all, she thought the store and the corporation itself actually did not proceed any income or help help this program. But it says proceeds will go to nonprofit to commemorate Day of Truth Reconciliation. So I need to find out which nonprofit. Anyways, a young lady by the name of Danny Lenuet was surprised to learn that the Hudson's Bay Company is selling orange shirts ahead of the National Day for Truth Reconciliation, given its role in Canada's colonization. And as the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation approaches, which is tomorrow, many Canadians are trying to purchase an orange shirt to honor the survivors and the families of residential schools as a way to commemorate what was previously known as Orange Shirt Day. But recent social media posts have led to some Indigenous people to ask whether one major retailer is trying to profit off painful legacy of residential schools. In an Instagram post earlier this week, the Hudson's Bay Company, which played a role in the colonization of Canada, said it is selling orange shirts with the slogan "Every Child Matters." Danny Lanuet, who is Anishinaabe from Niashkiming and Algonquins of the Barrier Lake, says that she blocked posts from the retailer on Twitter for years. When I saw the tweet of a screenshot of the post and was like, oh man, I got to unblock them. To see a company that has very colonial history, a history of colonial violence within so-called Canada, to see that they were now selling orange shirts actually made me nauseous. It was so gross to me. The Hudson's Bay spokesperson told the CBC that the company did not mean to cause any confusion about the sale of the shirts, and said that they were available for purchase in collaboration with the Orange Shirt Society, a BC-based nonprofit that works to create awareness of the effects of residential schools. All of the proceeds from the sale of the orange shirts will go to the nonprofit to support their work to commemorate the residential school experience, to witness and honor the healing journey of the survivors and their families, and to ongoing process of reconciliation, the spokesperson said in the statement on Saturday. Role in the colonization, the Hudson's Bay Company, one of the oldest companies in Canada, was established long before Canada even became a country in 1867. Prior to that, the company actually served as a de facto government in parts of North America. If we look at the area where the Hudson's Bay Company kind of took over and set up all of their trading posts and stuff, it's all the indigenous land, said Lanuit, who actually became interested in this history of the company as a teen. Now, in 1868, a huge chunk of land owned by the company was sold to the Dominion of Canada under the Rupert's Land Act, which resulted in a large part of the prairies, including Manitoba, which was joining Canada. HBC's, a Hudson's Bay Company statement, said that the company recognizes the role it played in the colonization of Canada and is proud to work with the Orange Shirt Society as part of our commitment to truth and reconciliation. But for Lanuit, who now lives in Regina, Saskatchewan, the Bay's more recent history is problematic. When we look at their history, even within the past 100 or so years, Hudson's Bay had a role with Inuit and the High Arctic relocation program, where families were taken from northern Quebec to Nunavut, she said. In 1953 and 1955, a group of 87 Inuit were persuaded by the Canadian government to leave their homes in Quebec with promises of better hunting and option to return in 2 years. The promises were broken. There were only a Hudson's Bay trading post up there, Lanuit said, and they really played a role in starvation of Indigenous peoples and in food insecurity today. The main issue she has with the Bay now selling orange shirts is the perception that the company is profiting from the experience of Indigenous survivors who were forced to attend residential schools, many of whom suffered horrific abuse. I think they should actually just be giving reparations without needing to sell anything or rely on consumers to make the donation for them through the purchasing a shirt. She also questions how the Bay represents the personal story of Phyllis Webstad, which inspired the September 30th Orange Shirt conferences that came before the newly established National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. In 1973, on Webstad's first day at the St. Joseph Mission Residential School in BC, a 6-year-old's favorite orange shirt, which had been given to her by her grandmother, was taken from her as soon as she arrived at the school. Now, the orange shirt, has since become a symbol of remembrance for those who were forced to attend Canada's residential school. And in an HBC Instagram story, the retailer states that Orange Shirt Day grew out of Phyllis's account of losing her orange shirt on her first day of school, but that's not an accurate account, Linuit says. In reality, it was stolen from her. Stephanie Cram is a reporter based in Winnipeg. She has worked on a CBC Indigenous unit, and she's the host of the podcast Muddled Waters in 1870, Homeland of the Métis. So this is one of the writers for this. So, and it's true. The orange shirt was stolen from her because it was actually the nuns that stripped her of her orange shirt. That was her first day of school, and she thought she'd be, happy to have an orange shirt to show her friends and people that she was very proud of where she thought she was going to go, that was going to be safe, but it wasn't. So, like I said before, folks, I apologize if that Hudson's Bay Company, that I did say that they didn't get anything for it. But you know what? I will say this about Hudson's Bay Company. I think what they're trying to do is, hopefully, I think they're trying to make up for what their act was in the past, generationally, even before Canada became a national or it became a country. Because before that, Hudson's Bay Company actually was very devious with the Northwest Trading Post. There's two companies that actually were trading posts, Northwest Trading plus Hudson's Bay. There's competition. And then they have what you call the Pemmican War Act, which basically the First Nations were not allowed to even sell, like they were making pemmican, and they weren't even allowed to sell any of their food to the public, and they made it that Hudson's Bay Company made it illegal. So there was a really big war to the point that because the Northwest Trading Post was trying to sell, was actually helping out the First Nations people. They were doing a lot for the people. There was a big war between both trading posts. It was crazy. So, like I said before, folks, that this is basically how it was in the past. Like I said, next tomorrow, if you guys don't have an orange shirt, if you want to participate, you're more than welcome to. We'd love to see you there on location. You don't have to be an Indigenous person if you want to be there to support the lost children that did disappear. And as I said earlier in the program, there was a couple of people who are journalists who actually did a documentary on the missing Indigenous children and the unmarked graves. And these are as far as I know, they're non-Indigenous people. But then their rapport of their journalism, so to speak, as far as they are believing, because you'll see the word fake or fraud, that these graves never were unmarked. He was saying that, like by one story, they said a priest back in the 1960s removed the headstones of the children. And they're saying that the grounds look as if they're unmarked. Whether they're unmarked, whether they're missing or not, the families still did not know where those children were buried. To this day, a lot of families were looking for those kids that actually went missing. So they're missing the story in itself, folks. It's not just about the unmarked graves, but the missing children of the residential school. There's many kids that went missing, that were murdered in the front of the eyes of children. Furnace by a priest and a caretaker. Nobody tells that story. And a lot of priests got away with it. Some of them actually did that. If the child did not do their bidding of bastardizing the child, they would take the child downstairs into the furnace room and throw the child live into the furnace. There were kids that were first Indigenous children that actually witnessed this. These kids are 8, 9, 10, 12 years of age. Witnessed this. I was part of the Truth Reconciliation. I was there at the River Cree Resort. I heard so many stories. Why would these people, elders now, why would they lie? They are telling you their witnessed stories. And if any priest or anybody, and even in Health Canada, is going to turn around and say, well, you were a child, you were just influenced, you probably don't really know what the truth was. Or how, just your imagination. Think about this, folks. This is 1960s. Television and radio was not allowed in residential schools. A television, radio. These children were labored and also schooled as much. And there are kids there that did not want to school. There's kids that just didn't want to. So there's forced labor, child labor. That's where it began. There's a story of a little girl, and some of these residential schools are 2, 3 stories high. The story of a little girl who actually had to tie a rope around her waist while her other little friend, and this little girl had to climb out the window to wash the windows on the second story, having a rope around her waist, and her little friend from the inside of the building had to hold on to the rope while she washes the windows. There's no priest or nun helping them hold on to the rope. And apparently there has been incidences where these children that did wash the windows were unable and slipped and fell to their death. It's been proven. The Mi'kmaq chief even talked about this. He was there. He's seen it himself. So I'm telling you, folks, some of these things, these stories, you guys think you know everything. These journalists think they know everything. They don't know anything. They do their research on a piece on a website by taking one person's word that these ground penetrating radar saying that they can't, that, oh, well, really can't really prove the fact that there's children under the ground because they're saying there's no way you can. But yet, like I said before, there were Egyptian geologists that are out there in Egypt, have been uncovering bodies by using ground penetrating radar. And they're called adults. Underground, everywhere. It is harder to find the children, but when you do find the bodies, they're going by what they believe. These people are not inexperienced. They know. But it's up to the chiefs, it's up to the elders, it's up to the community to tell you how many children did go missing. And if there's records to prove it, then they will tell you. Think about it. They're not going to, but again, this documentary, you'll see it on my page. Have a look, folks. Watch the documentary on YouTube, and you'll have a look at yourself, and you can voice your own opinion. Please let me know. If you want to let me know and what your thoughts are on this, you can contact me, metismattersradio@gmail.com. That's metismattersradio@gmail.com. And yeah, so that's how things work, folks. So I do my darndest due diligence trying to help people out and to share a story as best of my knowledge. This is all I can say or do. But I'm going to go out with a wonderful song, and I think this is going to, I'm going to play this song. I think this is great. I remember playing this or listening to this song when I was a kid, and I saw it on TV. Let's see if it goes on there. There we go. And it's called the Owl Song. And I think this is wonderful. This is going to help to honor the children in my own way. And anyways, I'm going to be going to this one of the events in Langley tomorrow, and I'll probably see you guys there. It's on between. It's called the Derrick something or other building, just up as if you're taking Fraser Highway. It's on the left. You'll see all these little sticks and people's shirts on them on the left side. I'm sure you guys know where that is. I will be there tomorrow. So you guys have a great one. I'll talk to you guys next week. And in the meantime, I'll see you later. You guys be good to each other and have fun with your night and your weekend. Take care, guys.
Talk to me, who will answer me? Who knows why I sing? Who knows the reason why I sing this lullaby? The owls are flying high outside, through the trees and the curtains as they hurry on home. With my feet on the bed, my eyes sad and lonely, I sing Talk to me, who will answer me? Who knows why I sing? Who knows the reason why I sing this lullaby? Who